Are there common problems that all salespeople face at some point in their sales career? I'm Scott Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about closing. And I got to let you know something. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Closing problems don't happen at the end of the sales call. They happen throughout that. And let me repeat that. Closing problems don't happen at the end of the sales call. They happen at the beginning, the middle, and the end. They're throughout the entire process. And here's something that I see is salespeople will go to a call, they'll take out or remove elements, they'll talk really fast, they'll do everything that they can to get to the closing process only for the buyer to give them an objection and only for the buyer to have some problems. And this sale can be made, but it's usually going to take some discounting or some haggling or something to be thrown in. But there was problems or there was ideas or there was concepts that were missed or created throughout the entire sales process. It could be questions that you're supposed to ask. It could be stories that you're supposed to tell. It could be part of the presentation that you're supposed to give. See, I have this belief in sales that when I'm selling, you can't outwork me, you can only underbid me. Meaning I'm going to ask the questions, I'm going to do everything possible that I can to close that deal. And so you as a salesperson, I'm going to give you some advice, some sales advice, that if you're struggling right now, you really need to go back and look at your sales presentation. You really need to go back and look at the questions that you're asking and what you're doing in your presentation that are leading up to you asking for the business in whatever way that you do that, right? You know, you can ask them questions like, will you trust me with this project? Would you like my help with this project? You know, with your permission, we can move forward. There's tons of different ways you can ask, right? You can ask with a question to get the business. But if you haven't done your job up front, and over here in the close, right, we got the close over here, you haven't done your job, it is possible to close that sale. But it's going to take a whole lot more work and a whole lot more effort than you giving the presentation and asking the questions that you should have in the beginning. Okay, I see this happen a lot, especially if you as a salesperson are struggling, you're not making the income, you're behind the 8 ball, you haven't been making sales, you're getting pressure from the management. This is a common problem. So if you're like, hey, I keep having this problem at the end of my close where the people aren't ready to move forward, it should say that somewhere over here you weren't doing your job. So I'm going to give you some cool sales advice. Pay a salesperson to come ride with you. Pay a great salesperson to come ride with you. Ask your manager for a ride along. Go to a mentor. Record your sales presentation. You know, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, time out. We're done with the call, but what happened to X, Y, and Z? What happened to 1, 2, and 3? How come you didn't give this part of your presentation? How come you didn't ask this question? How come when the buyer said this, you didn't say that, right? So when we start struggling, we all get caught up in our mindset, me included. I'm raising my hand, me included, that we start looking around wanting to blame other people and other things for our circumstance. Well, you know, it was a bad lead. Okay, let's get past that. Once it was a bad lead, what would have made it a good lead? You got to go through and you got to ask these questions. So if you're struggling at the end of your call, chances are very high that you missed something in the beginning over in here, okay? So there you go. Now, if you could do a small favor for me, in the box down below, leave a comment, question, or story. That'd be fantastic. To the right, to the left, there is a subscribe button. You know what you got to do. You got to subscribe. And then last of all, you can send it out to all your friends via StumbleUpon, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Why not? Even LinkedIn. Scott Sylvan Bell. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Aloha.